Stuttering John Melendez Roundtable Discussion.
Welcome to Point Dabble Point, a weekly discussion where we get caught up on This Week in Stuttering John, take a week off from the ad agency, and return to stand-up. I'm Karl Hamburger from Who Are These Podcasts, and with me this week from the Uncle Rico Show, the world-famous Shuli Agar is here.
What's up, Karl? Thanks for having me, as always.
What's up, Shuli? Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
You guys have been killing it on the Uncle Rico Show. I get most of my John news from the Uncle Rico Show these days.
There's a lot happening.
They're covering it well. There's a lot going on. Also,
excuse me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Very rude. From subreddit surfing, and of course, the creep off, Vinnie Paulino is back.
Hola, creepos. It is an honor to be here with you distinguished gentlemen on this fantastic panel.
When was the last time you were on Point Dabble Point? Was it Phil Elmore?
Sure was.
Wow.
Yeah,
Welcome
you and
back to
John,
the show.
you were on last time you were on. You and John were friends. That's how
Yeah.
long ago it was.
That's
This
right.
show-
He was texting.
This show broke up a friendship.
Yep.
Sure
That is
did.
true. Also with us today, Dabbler of the Month for the month of November, Adam Busch is in the house. What's up, Adam?
What's happening? I'm so happy to be here, especially with Vinny, and I'm so grateful to get to talk about this week because it has been quite a week.
Yes, there's
No
a lot
one's-
going on. Whenever John's traveling, I feel like there's a lot more going on. And John's back in New York at Mom's house, so that's a lot of fun. I was watching the Today Show. He comes on, he forgot to comb his hair. And so he gets up and then he's chatting with his mom about where his comb is. She's like, well, there's a toothbrush. And then he comes back and goes, no, it actually turns out I did comb my hair. He looked at himself and assumed his hair wasn't combed. And then he's just like, I guess I did.
He has the same plan for his combs, like his wallets. He always has more than one, stashed somewhere. in
That
case
was
he
a funny
loses it.
thing. Good thing I have more
Yeah.
than one wallet. What an idiot.
And he said he had 3 driver's licenses at one point, which is not legal.
Mhm.
And, yeah.
I'm assuming 3 of them are expired, would be my guess.
All
So-
3.
I just want to let everybody know that, of course, here we are on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. We do have the super tip system in place. So if you go to supertip.gg/WATP, that's another way you can support the show and contribute to the show through super chats and through AI voices become part of the show when you do that. So it's pinned in the chat. There's the QR code in the upper right corner, supertip.gg/WATP. We do appreciate that support. First topic I want to get into. I covered this yesterday on WATP. We did a episode on a Sunday. And so I just happened to be watching Chad Zumock. And Chad made the title of his video something about my daughter has a Pen 15. And so John was offended by this, even though that's not what John's trans kid is. It's the opposite. So I don't know why that pisses him off, but it got him very livid. And so he decided to report the video, not once, not twice, not thrice, 4 times to YouTube. 4 different reports he put in. And he's doing it in real time. So we're hearing him as he's reporting the video. The first report he put in was for child abuse.
Makes
Jesus
sense.
Christ.
Now, this is what's great about this is that John Melendez thinks that his 30-year-old son is a child still and literally thinks that that's child abuse.
It's his child.
He said that today with Vince the Warrior. It's just like, they're not kids, He's just like, they're my kids. Like, no, but the definition of children, like, you do understand that's not what that is. I just thought that was hilarious. Like, that's a glimpse into John. He hasn't talked to them. Like, he hasn't been a part of their lives probably since they were children. That's the age they'll always be.
Yeah, so the last time he saw them, they were kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he just assumes that they're stuck in time like he is.
Hopefully the court buys that when you file this lawsuit.
Yeah. And then he was all excited because he got an automated response from YouTube that said, thank you for sending in your reports. And he showed it. He's like, oh, look at, see?
They already got back to me. Look how
They got
fast
back
that
to me.
was.
They know how bad this child abuse is.
They know a big name when they see one.
You would assume that if you check child abuse on that, it would fast track it to YouTube, right?
Yeah. Child abuse implies that in the video a
I
child is
understand
being
that.
abused.
But if you
not
put
that
that
the
in
title
there-
offended you.
YouTube would immediately look at that, you would assume, is my point.
Yeah, I would think that would go up pretty high.
And then assume he's pretty fucking dumb.
Well, also, he's such a Karen. Striking channels and videos all the time, doesn't that work against you at some point? Doesn't YouTube go, we don't want this guy on our platform? It's very annoying that our system has to manage all this shit.
You would think that.
I agree. I mean, look, you helped us out in the beginning because he almost took our entire channel down because he just started striking us like crazy. And we've been saying since then, when is it reversed? When does YouTube start looking at accounts that file so many frivolous claims and reports? And it's like, when does that happen?
Adam, what are your thoughts?
I think John thinks that YouTube thinks he's a hero and that he's, there's buzzwords that he thinks once you say them, like child abuse or racism or disability, that people will just automatically have his side. And he expressed this when he was talking about going to court, taking Tukey to court, taking everyone to court. He's like, as soon as they hear what you said in that Discord, it doesn't matter what the law is. Public will be on my side and you will be laughed at now instead of me. It'll be you that everyone's mocking. And I think he believes that.
Well, it's one of his fantasies. He has a lot of childish fantasies, as we know, because he tells us about them all the time. And one of his fantasies is taking us to court and having the judge and the jury all wag their fingers at us and be like, that was not nice. His son is trans. You should not be using those words. That's very un-PC of you. Now get out of my court.
That's right.
I don't want to see you in here again. And John goes, takes a bow. Everyone's
And for some reason, kiss his feet on your way out. While the fantasy's going, he might as well take it up a notch.
It's crazy. So as we're talking about him striking channels, and I know he's put in strikes against my channel, he's put in strikes against TSN. He now has come up with a plan. He's figured out he's going to work with a copyright attorney. He goes, I don't care. I'll pay the money. I'm going to work with a copyright attorney and get all of my shows copyrighted. And he used the word correctly. I was impressed. And he said, and then there will be no more fair use. They will not be able to use clips unless they ask my permission because they will be copyrighted. And obviously, fair use is a clause in the Copyright Act. It has to do with copyrighted material specifically. That's what it's there for, is for copyrighted material. In John's mind, we're going to be messaging John and go, John, you sneezed and a whole bunch of snot came out of your face. Can I use the clip? And he's going to go, $500. And we'll go, begrudgingly, we'll go, all right, I need this clip. So, okay, we'll do it.
This guy's good.
But this is another fantasy that he was having on his show live where he's going to pay an attorney, get all of his episodes copyrighted, and then we're going to have to ask permission as if he's Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Well, the fantasy first started with the legend has pointed me to a high profile attorney. And then the reality set in about 7 minutes later where he said, Dirty Deeds, anybody in chat know a good copyright lawyer? Reach out to me. Let me know.
It's crazy how quickly this stuff. But I'll just save John the trouble. I mean, he still go through with it if he wants. It's fine with me.
Yeah,
I'll save him the trouble if he's listening. So we've played clips of the Howard Stern show. And I actually did get a copyright notice from SiriusXM. And I wrote back in YouTube and I said, this is fair use. And they said, you're right. And I've posted clips of the Howard Stern show many times since, and they've never reached out again.
Yep.
So you can always claim a copyright strike. Nothing's stopping you from that. You can do that now, John, if you want. But it will be dismissed very quickly.
You could also pay a lawyer to do whatever you want them to do. They'll gladly take your money.
Lawyers will always tell you that's the right thing to do. Like, yeah, let's get this all copyrighted. Yes, for sure.
Unbelievable.
Well, has he tried reporting Chad's clip under terrorism? Maybe that one
probably
will work.
did.
You know,
he
I
probably
bet
checked
you.
every box. They're like one box at a time. Like, okay, I'll report it 4 times then. That's fine.
There was a time as a musician on Long Island where this guy was so hungry that he would like go door to door with flyers promoting his shows. And now he's going door to door asking people not to watch his stuff. He has not made that adjustment to the internet and realized there's no such thing as bad publicity. Everybody's showing your stuff. Like, just let them run with it. But it was weird because he does get it. I remember him explaining to that comic he had on once, like, yeah, the numbers are really low here, but all these shows are going to clip it and then everyone's going to see you.
Yeah.
So he was aware of that. but maybe he forgot or he just can't admit it to you guys out
Well,
loud.
he does not like getting made fun of.
Right.
So he tries to cope. That's his cope. Oh, I'm the Duke. Everyone knows I'm the most entertaining. That's why these guys play all these clips. And if you had to ask them in a private moment, they would admit it's because I'm just so amazing. It's not because I'm goofable at every pass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when he told the getting beat up by the kids story, and everyone watched the clip. Everyone was laughing on your show, on Rico,
Yes.
Tukey, everybody that see it was hilarious. And the next day he goes, "That's how funny I am." He goes, "You see that? I made that hilarious."
And
It's laughing at you, not with you.
I hate to give credit to Vince the lawyer, but someone pointed this out on my show when we were playing it, is if Vince would have reacted with, "Oh, John, that's not good. You were getting beat up by 8th graders." John would be like, no, I mean, I wasn't getting beat up.
Right.
But instead, Vince's like, "Oh, that's hilarious." And John's like, "Yeah, I know. I'm hilarious. I'm killing it over here." He's so easy to encourage. This is a lot of fun.
He never understands why we're laughing. We're not laughing because your story's so funny. We're laughing because this is the same guy who was crying, talking about how he reached out to those kids, and by sheer proximity, they learned just by being near him. And then all the kids had to flock near him. And now you're painting this picture of like a riot and they're throwing desks at you. That's why we're laughing, because to us, this is the same guy.
Before he came back to the Dabbleverse, he was posting on his social media these cards he was getting from students. And they're saying, you were my favorite teacher.
Yeah.
You're the best. Mr. Melendez, thank goodness I had you in homeroom this year. Now, it was Teacher Appreciation Day. It's like getting a Valentine's Day card on Valentine's Day. It's like, yeah, no, everyone gets these, you idiot. But he's so stupid that he thought that he was everyone's favorite teacher. And then we hear these stories where he can't control the classroom at all. Claims, by the way, the most racist thing possible. None of them can speak English.
That's ridiculous. Why would they send a teacher who doesn't speak Spanish to a class that only speaks Spanish? There's no way they would do that.
No, definitely not. Well, I mean, unless they thought it was the other John Melendez, who John claimed to be the Spanish teacher, John Melendez, who actually makes a decent amount of money.
Yeah, that guy made a little bit more bread. So
A little bit more. How about when he talks about his LAUSD pension? As if we're supposed to think, I think he let it slip today. He was going to get a check for $9,300, or maybe it was yesterday. He mentioned a dollar amount he was going to get for a pension because he was a substitute for a year and a half.
There's no way.
That'll stretch till
He
his
barely
lifespan.
made that much money the entire time he was substitute teaching. That's how pensions work.
Yeah.
You
it was
gotta,
such
like,
a
peg into
specific
it.
number. I bet he meant 92. I bet he's really getting about $92. But in his
Yeah.
mind, his crypto goes up, it's doubled.
Oh,
$92,
yeah.
$9,200, whatever he wants it to be.
92 big ones.
92 Lodge coming
Yes.
through.
I
Yeah.
think you're right about that because there was a number in his head, and 9,200 does sound about right. It sounds like what he would get from the residuals of Airheads or something. for
Right.
the entire lifespan of that movie. It's like, yeah, that sounds about right. It's about
The
as
checks
much
he's
work.
currently
as you
getting
can do.
for Airheads are less than the postage it costs to mail them to.
That is true.
It is true.
And yet they still mail out the checks. It's a great system that they've devised. All right, let's check out what the people are saying to us. We got a lot of topics to get to today. A lot of things going on in the Dabbleverse. Starting with Wes Little, $5. Hell yeah. Slaying them cock meat sandwiches, my dudes. Skull.
Skull to you, sir.
Is that what we do around here?
It's all we do, all day, every day.
Barnes and Noobs, who put out another brilliant video on Dabblers Anonymous where, and we'll get into the stand-up stuff, but Barnes and Noobs had a video where John goes, you know what, guys? I'm going to get back into stand-up. I'm going to start writing jokes again. And 11 months ago, he goes, I write jokes every single day.
Every day.
I'm a comedian. That's what us comedians do.
Yep.
So that was great.
But you know why he's announcing that, right? He accepted his cop buddy out there, asked him to do a few minutes at a benefit.
Right.
So that's his big announcement. I'm returning to stand-up comedy to do a private gig. You're welcome,
Yeah,
America.
he even said by early next year. So I'm sure there's already a date.
How much
on
do
it.
I need to donate to get a seat?
Well,
I
Shuli,
want to watch that man do stand up in person.
Shuli claims he will
So
have
badly.
a video of it.
Yeah, I have an officer friend out there. It's contact has been made. We've been talking for quite some time. I've known about his cop buddy for a while. So yeah, it's all good. We'll have it, boys.
Can't wait.
Oh,
that
yeah.
should be a pay-per-view.
I want to be in a room and watch him do stand-up, though.
I know. Me too.
I-
You almost were.
I know. I tried very hard to make that happen once.
I hope it's like legit benefit for cops, and he has to do the raffle thing at the end, which is oh man, that's brutal.
Vince
Hard to
asked him.
say.
Vince said, "Is it going to be all new stuff?" And he said, "A mix of old and new."
Yeah.
Which I've never heard a comic announcing their return to stand up saying, whoa, ho, 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 I didn't say new stuff. Like, let's just temper those expectations. It'll be a retrospective of all of his classic bits. Like, he really talks about himself like he's Jay Leno and he's going to come out and do everyone's favorite, piano man at the end.
He's going to play the hits.
Well, we watched an episode last night, and somebody said, you're going to do that awful squeegee bit. And he goes, I'll tell you something, asshole. If you were there in person, you would see how great it is. Like, seeing it face to face makes it a good bit.
Yeah, he literally said, your girlfriend's going to lose her mind. You'll be laughing so hard at the squeegee bit. It's like, well, you know how comedy works. Like, the element of surprise is a big factor in that. We all know Don King's the punchline. We all know it's not funny. But even if it were, I highly doubt he's going to sell it in some new way. Like, I saw Flight of the Conchords. Fantastic musical performance by them. And they changed the songs.
Sure.
Because we all know the songs. They write new jokes for the songs that we love. And I would sit there and laugh anyway.
Right.
But it's like, that's something you need to do. And John just thinks like, yeah, you guys don't get it because you're seeing it from a weird angle at a comedy club from someone's phone. If you were at the show, then it would be amazing.
Sure.
And it's worth noting that even in his fantasy, he's so lonely for companionship that he's snuggling up to this imaginary person's girlfriend, and they love him so much. I think he's so handsome. Like, he can't go any fantasy without just like longing for it.
Your girlfriend's going to want a photo with me afterwards, and I'll do it. It's fine. You can hold the camera.
I was
Barnes
thinking,
Noobs.
well, go ahead. Read Barnes and
Yeah,
Noobs.
$10. He says, he mentioned again today that he knows Howard watches his show. I wouldn't put it past this monumental wet-brained fool to make up a BS story about meeting up with Howard this week. I really wouldn't. Dude, that was one of the funniest things that happened. We were doing that yesterday. We were talking about it with E-Rock, where John goes, I know that Howard's a big fan of the show. Hi, Howard. Hi, Beth. As if they're watching it together. I like that. And then he goes, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll come to your house. Like he was doing him a favor. I know you're agoraphobe. I'll come to your house and we'll hang out at your house. And I saw Shuli reaction to this too. It's just like the level of delusion is what keeps sucking us into this guy.
Yeah.
Like you can't believe he thinks that. And he does.
Beth will release the cats if he shows up. We'll just claw him.
It got so much worse than you can possibly imagine today. It almost broke me. I had a moment where I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore because Vince was like, Howard's not watching the show, John.
Yeah.
And he looked at him seriously and he said, oh no, he's watching and he's proud of me because he sees how much better of a broadcaster I've become and he knows it. And he's so proud of me. And I know for a fact he's so disappointed in Shuli. And he said it in that voice that I hadn't heard him use very often. He believes this and he meant it. And it might be the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, that is so sad that he's come to this delusion. Is there someone in the back office fucking with John? It's very possible.
Yeah,
Now,
but he's
I would do
choosing to
that.
believe it. I mean, it's like
of course.
ex-girlfriend stuff. And he's just, what? What did she say about me?
Yes.
It's a fact. I'm not even going to question it. Yeah, it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah.
Hilarious, but awful.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, we can laugh about it, right? All right.
Oh, yeah.
I just came this close to feeling bad for him for a
Yeah.
second.
You got to see it. It's rough. It really, it's rough.
But that's the other thing. So it's not just the delusion that Howard Stern is a fan of his and watches his show. It's also this thing where John is drooling on himself. He's sneezing all over the place. He is getting up and walking away and just leaving an empty chair behind him for 10 minutes at a time. And he thinks he's good at this.
Yeah. And that Howard's proud of him for it, which is great. And I love the beginning of that where Vince is like, Howard's not watching. And then he goes, and Howard said he's very disappointed in Shuli. And Vince goes, I believe it. He goes, I believe that.
That's hilarious. That's perfect.
But you know some people there that listen to you, Karl.
Yes.
They listen
I've
to
been in touch
Rico.
recently, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, it's safe to say the top tier people over there, John is not a thought in their head ever. Ever. I guarantee you that. And
Well,
the
I mean,
people-
Gary Delabate listens every day for ideas to bring to the Stern Show. But other than that,
I said top tier. Don't you dare throw. No. Yeah, Gary listens that's where they have the writers meetings. What did John talk about today? We used to do
Right.
that in the writers meetings all the time.
God damn it, why can't we get Richard Ojeda on this show? I said we need A-listers.
But yeah, the top tier and the people underneath, they'll watch it when they get to it, but their main focus every day is, what does this guy need? How do I keep this shit off my back and stay out of the shitstorm? That's their goal every day, not what's John up to.
I really like to imagine them, though, having meetings about what John did and Gary going, we need to get this Dirty Deeds guy here. He's amazing.
That would be awesome. Could you imagine if John's a guest on the Howard Stern Show next week? And Howard's just like, John, I've been watching the Dabbleverse for the last 5 years. It's incredible what you're doing over there.
Can you believe what losers these guys are, John?
Yeah, Shuli's a loser. Let me just name all the losers. Bob Levy, Lady K. That guy's a loser.
It would be amazing.
That'd be fantastic. Real quick, I have to take a break in the action for my girl KJ coming in.
As the father of a trans child, I want to thank John for his queer theater writing this week. Pinky and Chad Take the Leap gave us the great phrase, put your man parts in my mouth. Brilliant writing.
Yes, that was a great drop.
I have it here if you want.
Please.
I have a very big mouth. I could fit your cock and balls in this whole fucking mouth. And let me just fucking take your whole man parts in my mouth.
Does John know he's saying these things as he's saying them?
Well, that was during a different fantasy. We had the courtroom fantasy. This was Chad and Nick Swartzen together in a hotel room fantasy. And that's the conversation.
The only reason why Nick would let Chad open for him is because he's getting gay sexual favors in return, not because Chad works very inexpensively.
In my honest opinion.
Yeah, right.
I remember there was a time when Howard Stern, someone that was beautiful, would come into his studio and he would go, "Oh, you're so hot," and "Oh, you're the hottest girl we've had here." Like he'd say that under his breath and he'd get close to the mic. Remember when John was interviewing Bobby Brown and she took like her cardigan off and he went, "Oh, you're so hot," and everyone was so creeped out. It was so gross and disgusting, and in his mind it's the same delivery, it's the same guy. All of this stuff, I think, leaving in the middle of the show, he thinks it's like Punk and Howard being, he doesn't understand what was really happening.
No, not
that Bobby Brown interview, we covered it, but it might be worth going back.
It's
to
classic.
It is a classic because she's not even being subtle about it. She's like, John, it's not that I don't like your advances. I don't like any guy. I am done with guys. I am not sexual in any way. That part of my life is over. And John will not stop hitting on her and talking about getting beers with her. She's like, I don't drink. Yeah, but we can get like 2 beers, right? I mean, you can drink 2 beers. And just constantly hitting on her the entire time. It's so uncomfortable. But that's also the interview where we learn that John and Bobby had the same publisher and that the publisher never paid them any money. So when John claims that by posting his MP3 on my Patreon, I took money out of his pocket, he was never going to get paid a cent for that book.
That's insane.
Beyond the advance, whatever he got for the advance. Erica Ann, member for 15 months. So glad Dabble Point is back. WATP TSN for life. Hi, Shuli and Sexy Vinny. No, but he's Vinny.
Hi, Erica Ann.
Thank you very much. Whole man parts, $2. I'm coming for you, Nick Swartzen. whole man parts. Hellraiser 69 with $20. Thank you very much. If Stuttering John is dissing Daniel Tosh and Nick Swartzen for having Chad Zumach as their opener, then I guess Jim Florentine, his so-called friend, is next on this shit list. The stand-up community will welcome Mensa back with open arms. Oh, yeah. They're excited about him coming back to it.
Well, John, sorry, let me just say this really fast, because when you open for bands, you think it's a badge of honor.
Yes.
You open for them once. Chad is opening for these people again and again and again. You talk about one-off gigs and short runs. This guy has made a career of it. I don't understand why when you open for a famous band, it's a big deal, but why Chad opening for a big comic is embarrassing and he should quit.
Yeah,
it really is shitty. Speaking as a career middle, as the most middler in the fucking world, I can tell you that it is an honor whenever you get an opportunity to open up for like a big act. Like it's really cool. And
You
it's
do
fun to
gigs
do.
with Florentine all the time. He's very charitable in that way.
Dude, I could give you a list. I could sit here
I
and
know.
name names.
I
but
know. I understand.
Fuck that. I'm
That
just
was
trying
funny.
to say that Adam is right, and I kind of hate the way that people look at that, where they kind of shit on the openers. You do it all the time.
Wow,
I think you do it just to fuck with me.
I've
but-
seen some bad openers. I've seen some really bad ones.
Oh, you killed me with the joke, Karl. That was good.
Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Global Podcast, $5 says, a boat, a job, reuniting with Howard, reuniting with, breaking up with VTL. Let's go. Yes, we have so much to cover. Thank you. Those are all in my notes. He referred to writing jokes on his boat today as his yacht. Red 473, $5 says, so glad I can watch a show with Adam. His dead eyes look right into my soul. Oh, and if you move around the room, if they follow you,
Yeah.
so you know.
You know, as a podcaster, I'm meant to be listened to. I'm not meant to be watched.
I feel the same way. I never wanted to do a video show. That was never my goal. Carol Dillon with €5. Gents, sickened by Tukey's appearance on Kevin Brennan. Yeah, me too. I sent him a very nasty text message after that. Love Tukey, but disastrous. Highlight of the week was Clay calling out Stuttering John's doxing and John's facial reaction. Yes. And by the way, I'm joking about Tukey giving up my secrets about how he bought me a Pepsi Zero when we were in Largo, Florida.
Brutal.
How dare you tell Kevin Brennan my secrets?
That was amazing. What she's talking about, that
Yes.
that was one of the greatest moments ever, where Clay very politely and gently and professionally explained the chronology of these events.
Yes.
And John reacted like a fucking monster. Like and it got to the point it was just, fuck you. He had no logic. He had no reasoning. It was just, fuck you for making me feel bad. And Clay handled it like a gentleman.
Mhm.
It was very difficult to watch. You know, recently I was looking around on X and I saw this like little miniature that looked like a Mad Magazine thing from like Sergio Aragonés or Mort Drucker, one of those guys. And I clicked on it and it was a Clay Dabbler miniature. And I
Yeah.
know I'm stupid.
Wow.
It had never occurred to me like, oh, right, this guy's an artist.
Yeah.
Like he
Really
made-
good.
Yeah, really good. Not that you would ever know from the hours of him I've watched on John's show, because John won't talk about it, won't promote it. It was like, holy shit, this guy's an artist and he's really talented. And John treats him like he only exists as this, disappointing number two. When it's like the guy has a skill, John. Like, I don't know what you think you have, but like this is a guy who you should be promoting. I understand you're not even paying, but the fact that I didn't know this guy made such great art really shows you what a horrible friend John is, or at least a host.
Yeah, I told him a long time ago when he was a fan of ours, that he should just set up a stream and just every day do a little bit more work. Have the camera on the mold of clay and just show the process.
Yeah.
People will fucking watch, and you'll
For
end up
sure.
and you don't have to get caught up in all this bullshit, and you don't have to have a grown man tell you who you can and can't be friends with. I mean, the doxing's not going to stop. The system he came up with to combat Chad's show title was insane.
Yeah.
You're going to bring up my kid, so I'm going to go bring up Kevin Brennan's kids. And then I'm going to go bring up your aunt, and then I'm going to go here because I can't go after your kids, or I would, but you
Right.
don't have any.
No, Clay has
Crazy.
been the best part of Stuttering John's show because he's speaking truth. And in John's mind, he always thinks like if Clay says something that he doesn't like, it's because, oh, well, Shuli's going to like that or Karl's
Right.
going to like that. It's like, no, Clay's just being real.
Yeah.
He's just telling you his perspective. And John's even used the words, I want your honest opinion. He doesn't.
No.
John never wants Clay's honest opinion because when it comes out, he gets very upset, as you said, Adam.
Well,
And
he
there's
was
some-
still
Yeah, please.
no, he was still stewing about the Clay questioning the doxing thing the next day when Clay wasn't even on. He brought it up again out of the blue.
Yeah.
And he's like, Clay, you really got to pick who you're going to be friends with. He gave him the
Right.
ultimatum right there.
Yeah, there's something really interesting happening. You tell me if you see it too, but Clay is starting to just mumble things under his breath or just say fast little intelligent sentences that are very very much a protest, and John is choosing to appear like he's ignoring them even though he hears them, but he's just gonna move on. And now when you watch John and Vince will say things that John does not want to hear, and he'll be honest with him. And John is starting to mumble little things under his breath against Vince about why Vince is an asshole, and Vince is acting like he doesn't hear it and just moving on. So it's an interesting dynamic that's happening. Tell me if you see it.
I agree. The other thing that Clay is doing that I appreciate is now when John gets up, because he has to talk to someone at the door, a delivery person, or the electric company telling him they're raising the bill or whatever it was. Which, by the way, I have new news on that. Clay goes, "Oh, let's be quiet." And I go, "Yes," because I'm going to crank up the audio when I pull this clip so we can hear the conversation. Thank you, Clay. Let's listen into what's going on at that front door, please. Smart move. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Then he grabs his cup with ball bearings in it and fucking, it's like, shut the fuck up. What is in there?
It's Board Rock, $5. Anyway, I think I speak for everyone when I say thanks for losing the porn stash. The IMDb pick is a little off-putting. Sup, boys? That was for a roll.
It was.
Okay. I was just trying to get you back. Looney Tunes critic, my man, coming in. Member for 4 months says, Adam, huge fan. Not a Buffy, but of your contribution to the Dabbleverse and 9 Inch Nails. Yours is the first 9 Inch Nail cover project I've thought worthy of 9 Inch Nails.
That is the highest compliment I could imagine. I really appreciate it. Thank you for saying that.
Do you want to give a quick plug?
Oh, yeah. It's a record that Looney Tunes critic is referring to called Peeled Back by Ali Gertz. And it's a collection of 9 Inch Nails covers that just came out. And there's one video that's out now and a video for Closer that's coming out next week. Please check out this record on any of the streaming services that you like. And thanks again for the compliment.
It is great. She's a talent. And are you going to be in the second video as well?
I don't want to say. I just want you to see it.
All right. Sounds good. Beloved Cheddar says, I think the whole Bob thing is a work. Shuli should just tell the truth. Karl, can you tell him to just do it? Is this Bob thing a work, Shuli?
It is not a work, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
If it is
sorry to break it to you.
Because I've been telling everyone it's not a work.
It'd be great if I'm like, yeah, duh.
Rumpled Trench Coat, a Columbo podcast, $10 says, if it will make Vinny feel more at home to have a fat guy in a polo shirt on the show to yell at, I'm available. Seriously, though. Great to see you back on the show, Ben.
Hi, Rumpled Trenchcoat. It's great to hear from you again.
Yes.
He's a hell of a nice guy.
The fat guys unite in the Dabbleverse. I like that. They got each other's backs.
I was going to say, he is legit fat. I met him, and he's a good dude, but he is fat.
Why are you saying that to me? I'm hosting the show.
No, not you. Rumpled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pat Chand with 5 pounds. Over under when he leaves his mom's house, and I don't mean his mom's house in Florida. Yeah, there's speculation that he ain't going nowhere.
Well, okay.
What's going on with the
here's
cats?
the thing.
Who's watching the cats?
That's one thing. And, school is off this week. So he's got this week. My question is he coming back for Christmas? Because I see him as a one-trip guy. I don't see him making this trip twice.
Well, how are they getting ready for the Super Bowl?
They got to get that ad copy done for the Super Bowl. So I'm surprised you're taking this week off from that. I loved it. That was another thing. Brilliant by Clay, not to ball wash the entire episode, but Clay asks him like, "Oh, so what's your job at the ad agency?" Which is great because John can't describe an adult person's job.
Right.
So he's like, "Oh yeah. We sit around a table, and then at 1 o'clock there's 7 and 1, and so it's 8, and we got the Super Bowl ad, and if the powers that be approve it, it's like." John can't explain his day-to-day at his ad agency job. He had no idea. I want to know what his job title is. If I got a chance to talk to John, I'd be like, what's your job title at the ad agency? He wouldn't even know what a job title would be at an ad agency.
I'm kind of like a floater, I'm doing a lot of things around here.
You're a lot of like a floater.
Yeah. I'm like a DH.
I like when he makes those claims because it's one area that I can know for a fact and weigh in on. And he has nothing to do with any commercial that is going to be on the Super Bowl. And no one at this point in time is waiting to approve or figure out whether their commercial is going to be in the Super Bowl. This stuff has already been decided, and you sound like a fucking moron when you act like it's Mad Men and you're smoking cigars and people are bringing you prime rib and they're like cigarettes, and it's just like the 50s and you're deciding on these big sweeping ideas and putting it into a campaign. It's not happening, and it's delusional. And him claiming 4 weeks from now, once somebody else uncovers what he's really doing, that he got us, is not going to work. It's not.
Hey, you know it's coming.
And
No,
I
it's coming.
Ain't gonna stop him either.
I promise
No.
I'll get off this at some point, so I apologize in advance. But again, he's 6 years old. What do you do at the ad agency? I write ads for the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. The most important moments of advertising for the entire year.
You must be a very important.
That's so important, John. Wow. Fucking
The guy who
idiot.
took his first 3 days of work off,
Right.
is
They
now.
don't need me until Wednesday now.
Yeah.
When he
Always a good
fixed
sign.
his own turlet, we got a step-by-step.
Yeah.
It was like a documentary through the entire process. You're telling me you came up with a Super Bowl campaign, and that's all you have to say about it?
Yeah.
Leave it
Adam,
at that.
that's the way you know he's lying, like about college. He never has any details about these movies he made. I got an A, or whatever it is. But to your point, he goes to Radio Shack, and we know every detail about Radio Shack,
Yeah.
and then over to Target, and then over to this place, and
Pharmacy,
everything bought.
everything. Yeah.
The line at the pharmacy, how long the conversation he had with the pharmacist, and he had to do this and that. And then he's working full days at an ad agency and doesn't come back with any anecdotes.
Yeah.
Tell us about your coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a coworker that you find interesting or annoying or something?
We know how many nails are in his roof. It's insane.
Yes.
It's
Also,
insane.
here's how I know John can't possibly work a white collar job. He still doesn't know how email attachments work.
I was gonna say the grease on his neck.
That's a problem. That's definitely a problem.
Okay.
Whenever someone sends him something, he has to dox that person by going into his email to open the email to show the attachment rather than just download it and save it somewhere in a folder. That could be called like the date of that show. That could be the name of I'm just giving him some ideas here. The folder can be named the date of the show. And then he can have all the things he wants to show people in that folder. He can't do that. There's no way anyone would hire John for a 6-figure salary if they can't download an attachment from an email.
That's a good point.
All right. I think I've said enough. Steve Morton, $5. Are the odds good John will bless us with a Thanksgiving Day Cope stream? Oh,
Yeah.
Because there's going to be less competition. He's going to be on there.
Well, and also he has nothing to do. It's not like he's helping out with anything, or he's I'll make some money while they trash me.
Oh, here's a question. How many family members will get sick that day? How many of them will have COVID or something, or a flu, or so my brother couldn't make it, his wife couldn't make it.
That's kind of the sad thing about COVID being, gone, is it was such an easy excuse, when it was around. It worked every time. Nobody questioned it.
If they told me that John Melendez was going to be at my mother's house on Thanksgiving Day, I would rather eat out of a dumpster. I
I got some
would go
raccoon
either.
friends I need to hang out with, but
But it gave us such a highlight with him yelling for Joyce to go steal the pork from family to bring it so he can eat it and enjoy it.
fantastic. Joseph Collins, $10. Sure, I've worked for a grocery store for over 25 years. I do belong to a union, and my pension will be much better than John's.
Yeah,
Pensions are about longevity.
right.
That's the thing. Like, you pay into it over a long time, and that's why it builds up and pays out. Being a substitute teacher for 3 semesters is not what makes a pension.
They go, hey, we gave you a little extra. You didn't get a desk thrown at you this past 6
Again,
months.
He's
Right.
6 years old. He doesn't know how these things work. He hears these words. He knows other adults have these things. Keith, 73, became a YouTube member. Thank you very much, Keith, 73. Of course, you can watch every WATP live on Wednesdays and Saturdays and our bonus episodes by going to the members tab or the community tab. We post the links on there when you are a member of the channel. Thank you. Happy Valley Wrecking Crew, $5. Hey, dudes, by the way, if Stuttering John actually went Chad physically, I think Chad would romp or stomp him. I mean, Chad actually did play high school football. Was he the T? do you mean Chad played high school football? What position do you play when you're 4'8"?
And there's positions you can play.
Is Chad not very tall?
He's not a tall man.
Oh,
No.
It might be a fair fight then. That'd be
It
fun
might
to watch.
be. Yeah,
What do
who
you
would
got?
win in
What
that
do you
fight?
think?
Chad's
Yeah.
younger. Chad's a lot younger.
Chad,
I'd have
you
to
got-
take Chad.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. And then you go,
although
"Ah."
Chad stopped drinking, correct? So, but
Okay.
he did drink a lot for a while.
Yeah.
John has never stopped, so I will go with Chad.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going with Chad.
Only you could get a pension for drinking.
He'd have such a big pension. Diablo Sandwich, $5 says, after complimenting JetBlue, he immediately said he was signing up for their credit card. How many credit cards do you think Dummy has? Part of why his score is 440. I think he has 0 credit cards.
Yeah, if your score is 440, the answer is 0.
Right.
He might have like one of those beginner cards where it's kind of like a hybrid debit card. You have to have like a balance or
Yeah, it's
something
like-
in there.
There's a
Like
there's a level, I think, with credit score. If your score is under a certain amount, they won't even give you like a checking account.
That's nuts. They just give you a cookie jar. They're like, put your money in there.
And a
Piggy bank.
shovel.
It's so funny that John blames Susanna for his bad credit, but then he doesn't even open up his bills. It's like, no, we know
Right.
why you have bad credit. You didn't pay off your mortgage when you owned it. You don't pay your electric bill. Like, this is why you have bad
He
credit.
owned the house for a year and a half before that. How was the electric on? How was that getting paid?
That's a mystery.
And it's
Was
all
that-
different. It's a different set of rules for everything that he's talking about. For some reason, Mike Morse owning a house with his wife is a sign of weakness. But for some
Right.
reason, him having embarrassingly horrible credit is fine. That's
It's
fine.
smart. That's why he got his mom to
that's-
co-sign. Yeah.
That's smart. When Chad is doing these opening gigs, John's like, well, Daniel Tosh isn't Howie Mandel. It's not like he opened for Howie Mandel. You know who opened for Howie Mandel? Shuli. So
Yeah,
where does this work and end? It's all fucking crazy.
Well,
I-
also,
can
let's
I
not
ask-
forget, the
Yeah.
biggest story was Shuli getting a day job.
Yeah.
And that was so embarrassing. And then John comes out and goes, guess what I got? A day job. And we're like, wow.
Well, can I ask you?
Amazing.
You teased earlier that something about that electric company person showing
Oh,
up
yeah.
at his door. What was that?
Okay, so I saw somebody comment on this on Reddit or somewhere, brought up a great point because the person didn't know John's name. They needed to ask him his name.
Right.
And they were talking about raising rates. This is probably one of these.
Salesperson.
Yeah, it's a salesperson who's trying to sell them solar panels.
Right.
Right? It's got to be a solar panel salesperson who's just like, you get these things installed. It's, whatever the cost is, but over 10 years, it's going to save you this much money. And you'll actually get money from the electric company because you'll contribute to the grid. Like that was a sales call. And so his takeaway from that was, they're raising the rates. Yeah, the guy who's trying to get you to get off of their electric is telling you it's expensive. He's the easiest person to sell to. And if he had money, easiest.
Yeah. I always said it was like when we were on the road with Beetlejuice and he would wander off and then he'd come back with like a cell phone, a new pair of shoes. And it's like Beetlejuice is a salesman's wet dream. It's like, walks in with a knot of cash and has no clue where he is.
John and High Pitch Eric have similar IQs.
Yeah.
And High Pitch got on Cameo, started making a ton of money, and immediately bought a brand new pickup truck with cash.
Yep.
It's just like these people make the dumbest decisions.
Is John not on Cameo?
He was.
Yeah.
He used to be.
Interesting.
But we got a real great glimpse into what John is like when he's not on camera. And it did solidify our thought that what we see on camera is the best of him. And who he is when he is out in the world
Yep.
is a monster. If you could have heard him on that call today to Universal Studios, he is, he was screaming at the hold music, screaming at them, raging at how this wasn't going his way. He talked to whoever that person
Get
was.
me the operator! He's yelling at the fucking
Yeah.
phone tree thing. Get me the operator. But he's pissed.
Yeah, he's and so personally offended so fast and so comfortable giving everyone the worst of him, which is why it's not a joke when he's like starting the show going, "How are you, everybody?" in that evil clown voice. Like, that's as close to happy as he can
That's
get.
actually
That
a really
is-
good impression.
That was great.
That is
That was
all I'm
great.
gonna see now, dude.
Yeah.
It shows you the art. It's why I love this so much, because it's the origins of a true villain. Like, how does someone become like the Joker? How does someone become like that? You see it when he's not talking to us. He is just raging. And these constant stories of being assaulted everywhere he goes are becoming more and more frequent. And he's willing to deal with more and more abuse just to have someone listen to him for 5 minutes.
It's that off-air John is one of the many reasons, if not the main reason, why people in his life do not pick up when he calls. They avoid it because they're going to hear this version of John that Adam pointed out for the next 30, 40 minutes. What has he got to do? you have a life to live, you know?
Every now and again, John tells a story, not realizing how bad it makes him look. A couple of perfect examples are when the guy came over to work on his stove and he didn't even clean the floor. And he's like, I'm not going to get down on this floor. It's covered in cat
litter and cat shit.
And so John's like offended, but he tells that story. The other one that was amazing, I remember we had Pat Oates on the show when John got kicked out of that bar because he got into a fight about politics with the bartender. The bartender's like, we don't talk about politics in here. And John's like, oh, but you guys are allowed to say this and this and this. It's like, that's John. At 3 p.m, John is screaming at the people who are pouring him beers. Like, just sit down, watch Sports Center, shut the fuck up. And if you hear a conversation you don't agree with, ignore it.
There's also a female. There's also a female bartender. Let's throw that in too. You know,
who he gave a lot of money to, so she owes him.
Right.
But that's the glimpse of the real John. Those are my favorite moments when John tells a real story. I mean, the horrible one with Oscar crying.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Why did he tell us that?
Yeah. When Oscar said "I love you" and he didn't say it back.
Why would you tell us that?
I know the answer to that, Adam. It was integrity verification.
Oh my God.
He wanted to make sure.
Oh, you're repeating that story? That was a lie.
He wanted to
We
make
fucking
sure.
fell for it. God
Yeah, it
damn
was
it.
stupid.
And it checks out
It's our
because for
fault.
some reason his integrity verification has to be the worst stuff he could ever think of. Why wouldn't he say good things? It never made sense to me. Why would integrity verification be the most believable, awful stuff about you specifically that anyone could imagine?
I think I've said this before during our brief friendship. He told me things about his son that he would say to me, you cannot repeat this to anybody. And I wouldn't ask him for any of this information. But
you,
he would
you
just,
never care.
He would sit there and go, you have to promise, though. I'll tell you, but... And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody. But if anybody tell anybody, I'm going to know. He would say things like that.
Yep.
I knew exactly what was happening.
That was the real integrity verification.
Right. And what he said to me was, and this is what it was, and it doesn't matter now because it's all out, was that his son Oscar got into MIT. And I said, wow, John, that's really great. You should be proud of your son. That's awesome for him, man. He's going to have a bright future. I'm happy for you. And I meant it.
And that's
I
how
still mean it for the kid, even though he's going to Harvard.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's what the integrity verification was. This whole story about it being something, I make up shit, lies about myself that are completely embarrassing and humiliating if anybody knew them about me.
The Dabbling Dan one is by far the biggest head scratcher for me because he told Dabbling Dan he laid his hands on a student and there was a police investigation and it really blew up in the school district. And then Dabbling Dan tells it on Tuki's show and he's asked about it and he goes, oh no, that wasn't at all. In fact, the kids laid their hands on me and they were beating me up and throwing desks at me and I was screaming for help outside the room. So I'm going, okay, that one's just as embarrassing, if not more embarrassing. You were getting beat up by 8th graders. I doubt that's the truth because that's what you're putting out there for everyone to hear. So I believe Dabbling Dan's story is probably the truth. But they're both horrible.
You know what I think it might even be? I feel like what Jim Cornette says is the guy would rather climb a tree to tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell you the truth to your face. He just go out of his way to make shit up. It's really a personality thing.
It's a
just
personality
really
disorder.
insane.
Yes, that is correct.
And that example of the integrity verification done right with you, Vinny, where one detail was switched. That's it. That's his limit. That's what he's capable of. All this stuff you hear, detailed stuff, he's not quick enough, smart enough, or good enough to lie like that And that's all true. That stuff is all true. Switching one thing in a story, that's him. That's integrity.
Imagine, Shuli, you're driving cross country. You need a friend to talk to because you don't have Bluetooth in your car because it's so fucking old.
Ugh.
And so he's calling up Dabbling Dan and telling story after story that's just a lie.
He did have Bluetooth. It was that giant speaker, wasn't
Well,
it?
right, yeah, that was his way of listening to things. But if that's true, if that's what he's doing with his friends, that's insanity.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yeah.
And if he really was a good lawyer, he would realize that the fact that more than half of the lies he told Kate Meany are the same lies he told Dabble and Dan.
Right.
That's not how lies go. That's how a case for truth is built. And like you said, he's not going to remember all those details. So those stories are pretty much the same. You know, he mentioned something. He goes, when he was talking about the attack in the school, where he's like, you know, because a teacher cannot lay hands on a kid ever, no matter what. They cannot touch them in any way. And it was like,
yep.
Oh, somebody told you that.
Yes.
You learned that lesson. And knowing you didn't learn it in advance. You learned that fact after.
Nobody told me I wasn't supposed to punch the kids in the face.
And even in self-defense, even if they drew first blood, can you believe it? They drew first blood, and now I'm at fault. Yeah, he learned that lesson. So obviously something happened, and there's an investigation, and he may or may not be at fault.
My boy, Purple Monkey Dishwasher, $5, and that is through the Super Tip system, supertip.gg/WATP. Participate in the show, support the show that way. We appreciate it. I thought I would be one of the last victims of John's stand-up. If he returns, you can bet your ass I'll be there with my recorder. Yes, Purple was the one who got us
legendary
audio of the last one, which was
real
fantastic,
hero, folks.
Yes. Sure. Thank you for your service, Purple.
Yes, and if you do it again, we got a bonus for you. A little extra money in the...
Karl said that. Purple.
Yes.
Karl said that.
And he says, Thanksgiving RSVP, John +1 roach infestation.
And just back to Purple real fast. I really do love that. It's my favorite when we get to see like one of the whole weekends of John. Yeah. Like we got to see his morning radio appearance and then a stand-up later that day. We get to spend the whole day and just see how he dissipates as a person. It's really fun.
That's right. That is how we spent Thanksgiving. What was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, he was
at a barbecue restaurant.
No leg.
Arresting guy with no leg. And then doing stand-up gig at the barbecue potato bar.
Then ER.
Barbecue restaurant.
Didn't he have...
ER was the day before, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Didn't he have a falling out with that guy who booked him for that gig?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think they had some sort of falling out on Facebook, I want to say.
Wouldn't surprise me, obviously.
I know.
I just remember that DJ being the greatest example of a voice not matching the face I have ever seen in my life.
That's right.
Wasn't there someone holding the microphone for him in that place?
Yeah, they kept having to like show him how to use the microphone. It's like he's never been on the radio before.
It was a different time.
The Duke of the Delusional. As a mother, how do you let your son get this bad? Well, there's a lot of blame to be thrown around. Gonzo, shitcock coming in. You ever thought maybe Stuttering John is right and we're all wrong? I think I was just saying that a minute ago. Like, what if he shows up on Howard next week and Howard's agreeing with him on all this? It'd be hilarious. Carl's Frosted Tips, $2. Carl, give us a word on Patty C-Cups. We got it.
Oh, give us
the
word
on Patty C-Cups. He's threatening to sue me.
What?
Yeah, he blocked me again from his Patreon. And so what happened was there's this YouTube channel called Stuttering Sex Pest.
Okay.
Awesome channel. He went back. This must have taken months. He went back and pulled every single Stuttering John segment we've done WATP from 2018 to 2023.
Oh, I know that channel. It's a great channel.
Yes, you can go on there and listen to, like, the videos are 6-7 hours long of just us going through John in chronological order. So if you haven't been a part of this Dabbleverse forever, you can go back and listen to the old episodes and find out how we got here. Well, he went last month and did one with Patrick Michael, who's another guy that we've been covering for many years. And Patrick Michael finally heard that for the first time. It was like, what the fuck? So I got all of these DMs from him back to back to back to back that was just calling me a pussy and how he's going to kick my ass and how he's going to sue me. And what was he saying? Defamatory?
Yeah, defamation's the word we're tossing around right now. But the best part about it was he was sending these things to Karl, and then he was posting them as Patreon posts for his followers so they could see what he was sending Karl.
That's
fucking
brilliant.
Weird.
I didn't respond within 24 hours, which I never do because I'm always way behind on communications with people. And he took that as me being a pussy and afraid of the defamation case.
Well, you smelling what I'm smelling? It's smelling like Patty Con is getting ready to gear
That's
up.
right. I'm here for it. Whole man parts, $2. SJ, you better keep my name out of your mouth. Whole man parts. I do love that guy.
It's getting ugly.
Karl's Frosted Tips is here. We get it, Karl. We get it, Karl. Deny it in case cops call you. What is that referring to?
It. Yeah, don't worry about it. Exactly. What's that referring to?
Wait for it.
Casper.
Yeah, look at you. You just denied it. There it is.
How can you just start a job, then take a week or more off? Yeah, a lot of ad agencies frown on that. Although, I will say, if you tell them up front, hey, I do have some vacation scheduled, they'll go along with that for a salaried employee like John, an important copywriter like John is.
I don't know if you saw, but somebody posted on Dabblers Anonymous, and I sent an email with a screenshot of it, but it's somebody, an insider, who has knowledge of Tonight Show staff and John's actual day-by-day job there, how much he actually made. It's a pretty fascinating post, and it seems to kind of, like he claims that John Susanna made him quit drinking around the time he got I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And that's why we saw a completely different John than anyone's ever seen since, the guy that everybody fell in love with. It's a pretty interesting read.
Yeah, every word of that is true. I read it, and I think it's clearly personal from someone who knows what they're talking about, and it just kind of crystallizes and puts, fine points on everything we've already assumed was his journey. And I mean, John talked about there were moments where his mother-in-law was at Thanksgiving, I think, was like, "You're drunk."
Yeah.
But he said that to us. He told us that his mother-in-law, trying to paint his mother-in-law as a terrible person, accused him of being drunk at Thanksgiving. Who do we believe? And it's clearly, what happened in this letter where Susanna tried and he succeeded when he didn't, and then couldn't take any bad news that came his way and just completely deflated.
It says right here, John never made $500,000 per year, as some said.
Yeah.
It was about $400,000 in his first contract, but he might have received a signing and relocation bonus. It would be just like John to say, yeah, it's $500,000, just like taking in all the different amounts and making that part of his salary to show off. Staff realized John was a bad hire, but they liked him. He was described as the dumb dog that everyone made fun of, but kept around, but he was not considered talented at all. When Jay moved to 10, he kept John, but his salary was dropped. Yeah, we know that. When that show bombed and they moved Jay back to 11:35, John was not hired.
Mm-hmm.
John did an interview saying others were hired back, but not him. Stern played the interview and lambasted Jay, and a week later, John was hired with a reduced salary.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder he's not in that museum.
Howard has done this man so many favors.
Yeah, right?
Really?
And it solidifies what we always thought, that he couldn't let him go because Jay had a personal policy of not wanting to fire people.
Right.
And this was stunt casting, and it wasn't worth. He didn't want to go through that news cycle of Jay makes blunder by hiring guy, wasting all this money, and now the guy's fired. He couldn't have that article for him, and he couldn't personally have it for Howard. He didn't want him to see that. And that completely validates that theory and why he kept going. So once again, his enemies are the people that try to help him and that do help him, and he never sees it.
John told the Tonight Show executives he would take any position and was given a salary in the $200,000 to $225,000 range. He was demoted once more, and his last salary is about $185,000 according to court documents. Yes, that is true. The last run on Leno was when things spiraled. He couldn't afford his house and lifestyle anymore, and the bombing of his film proved he was not going to be a working actor / talent. He tried to use his Leno credits to get work and to open doors, but he just didn't have the talent to be hired. I've seen those emails. The last 2 years with Jay were bad. He was separated from his family. He was making under $200,000 per year and started drinking heavily and partying again. He realized his luck was over, and he morphed into the piece of shit we see today. That is interesting.
Right.
People with Jay that once liked him started to distance themselves from him. It was over as far as Hollywood went, and John was unrecognizable from the 2003-2004 when he had his act together. That's sad.
Yeah.
But that's what drug and alcohol abuse will do to people. So what that be a lesson? I can't tell you how many people John has helped get sober and change their lifestyles. If that was a thing John was bragging about, I'd be like, yes, that is the thing that you actually have accomplished. Not fixing stutters, not inspiring people through the first stutterer to become the Tonight Show host.
Yeah, it's not only drinking. People were like sick in the hospital, and laughing at John through various shows helped them. It's pretty wild.
We've heard it a lot.
If that was
Adam
John's
Busch.
bio, hold on, Karl's Frosted Tips. Stop yelling at me. When if that what we just read was actually John's podcast, that's as riveting as what we're watching now. Like, that's very interesting. He does have that option of being like, I don't. How can he beg and claim to be a millionaire at the same time? Doesn't he understand we don't want to give money to a millionaire? We'd much rather, if you need it, maybe we'll be inspired. Just be honest. If that's your life and you're trying to do something different, people will want to follow that story. They might not be the same people that liked Howard Stern. It might be a different audience. That's okay. Why does he have to keep this false charade up instead of just admitting all of that? If he just said that was his story, we'd tune in and we'd want to see what happens.
I cannot agree with you more, but I have a theory. John gets off on other people being jealous of him.
Yes,
for sure.
That's why.
That's the currency in his world.
Right. That's
his
why
celebrity,
he brags
others jealousy
about a boat.
Yep.
That's why he brags about a paycheck. And if he can't hold that stuff over anybody, he might as well be dead.
Well, the one thing that's come out in recent weeks is that John is finally admitting he doesn't have money. And it's really because of this Vince the Lawyer debt that he owes.
I just watched it with Adam, and I were watching the same thing, I guess. That was bonkers. He stopped himself at times from saying, from a guy who has a guy who has less money than you.
Yep.
Like, he would start it.
He's got no money, and he's finally coming out and explaining that to people, even though he caught himself the other day too, and he's going, I'm not a millionaire. He's like, wait a second, maybe I am. And millionaires never just like, let me check the spreadsheet. I'm not sure, actually. Yeah, right.
It's been a couple years. We see how this will play out. He will get Vince by embarrassing himself and making himself as small as he can. He'll get him to lower the payments.
Oh, yeah.
And then as soon as he does, John will say, I played him. I'm the puppet master. I have tons of money. I just bought this. Ha, 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 Vince. It was. And we all know he's lying, and we all know it's performative, but he doesn't care.
I texted Vince and told him that John's playing him and that I guarantee Vince is going to let him off the hook, because he will. Because he is getting played by John. And what John did to Vince really is fucked up. John is always, I want to ruin your life if you do anything to slight me in any single way. And he took that policy with Vince, which was a bad move. A very bad move. All right, let's see what Karl's Frosted Tip has to say for us here.
SH. I got your real name now. Now prepare to be doxxed. Call H. EBEERERGER.
Close.
You think you could duke the ducks? I'm going to hack a mania in Vegas next year. Oh, Adam Busch. B-U-S-H.
All right. We got it. Thank you very much, Karl's Frosted Tips. I'd love to see John at Hackamania. That'd be great.
Be great. You walk in and he's like, Karl,
fuck you.
Like, John's going to buy you a beer. Oh, okay. Come on.
But that's the
I always
fuck
thought
you.
we could be friends.
That's the fuck you to Clay that you were talking about, Adam. The way he said it. Listen to this.
No.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
That
His
was
body
it.
just rejects it. I hate it. It's so bad. You got to understand that accent of his. That's my family's accent.
Right.
I had to take classes from a professional to learn how to drop that accent. So there's something
Amazing.
about it that really it personally gets me. And it's specific to that part of Long Island where they put R's at the end of sentences where there are none, and then remove the R where it's there. So it's my Aunt Linder,
Right.
over by the river. It's
Right.
But I talk like an idiot.
Well, yeah, two things could be true.
No, I understand. I'm just saying. Those in glass houses is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if you want to get that accent out of John, you're going to need an exorcist, not a speech
For real.
therapist.
This is how incapable of change he is. He's lived in California for how many years, and he's not at all influenced by the
even
cadence, by
trying
the
to be,
voice.
yeah.
It has no effect on him. He just stays with that specific part of Long Island's accent. It is, it's amazing.
That's something that doesn't get brought up enough. It's not that he was hired to be the announcer as a stutterer. He was hired to be the announcer with that accent.
Right.
That's the crazy thing. Like, there's nowhere on national television do you hear that accent. It's obnoxious.
And that's what the Pamela is. They put
Right.
R's at the end there. It's a very unique. Yeah, they don't want the national Tonight Show to sound like it's from Massapequa.
No, they don't want Nicolas Cage to be the N-word.
No.
That's always
sure.
a good thing. Wendy's Gash $2 says, Sonny John eats prime rib and writes ads for prime time. That's right. He's killing it over there at the ad agency. Zach Hoffman, $5. Hey, boys. Today, I told him I'm going to go to the Belmont this week and beat him with his stroke arm. He told me to DM him and meet him. Should I do it? Let's not.
No.
Please don't beat anybody up.
Yeah.
Let's not beat
Just
people
observe
up.
the animals in the cages. Let's not interact with them, please.
Well, I can tell you the Belmont's closed tomorrow night. So if John were going to go, it'd either be tonight or any day this week. But
They're closed tomorrow night. That's interesting. They're
yeah,
always closed on Tuesdays. I try to remember what day of the week
yeah,
it was.
at least on their schedule, it said that.
Okay. This is Doo Baby. $2 says, wonder if Sonny John's eyebrows will leave him like his wife. Did somebody
He dyes
point out
them.
Yeah, somebody put it on your show that he's dyeing his
Yeah.
eyebrows now.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. You know what I mean? Why the hell
Let's
not?
look at this together real quick. I know people have looked at this already, but not these four people together. I think we need to talk about what's going on with John's face. I have a theory about it.
Oh, Christ.
This is from JKO 1962 in Dabblers Anonymous. And John got real close to the camera to show off that big old nose hair growing out of the top of his nose.
I'm more focused on the corners of the eyes
Yeah.
and the blood in them. And like, what is that about?
It's not healthy. He's got a lot of peach fuzz on his face for some reason.
Well,
Or should
and
we
Mike
say
pointed
that?
out there's just a patch to the right on the cheek that just was never shaved, never
Yep.
touched for some reason.
So here is the theory, because since John's been working out, he's showing off the guns every single episode. He's all proud of himself. And if you remember, his armpits are shaved for some
Yes.
reason. And so I was speculating he's got some kind of testosterone or some kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They rub that shit under their armpits.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And one of the side effects is hair growing out of your nose and shit
Get
like that
outta here.
when you take testosterone.
Wow.
So when John clowns Vince for not being defined like he is and how muscular it is, like, this guy is definitely roiding up.
Oh, that's great.
He's going to be right up there with Mark McGuire in front of Congress.
Well, we know he's been hemorrhoiding it up for years.
That's true.
Can't wait to see him climb Kevin's apartment like King Kong to get into his apartment.
Now that's a Photoshop idea
Yeah.
right there. Adam, comment on this?
I just see that looking in Kevin Brennan's living room window.
He closes the blinds. Whoa!
It just makes me feel bad.
Okay, well,
well,
I'll get
get
off the
over
screen.
it,
I'm
Bush.
sorry, I'm
Get over it. All right. It's a big boy show. What's wrong with you?
Fair enough.
It
He's
just
right
shows you
about
in a
that.
world of, like, science fiction and, evil demons and monsters, the scariest thing is just another human at their worst presented back at you. It really does show you how these, like, comically unbelievable villains we read about could exist, and we get to see it every day. Like, look at that. What he just sneezed on his mother's floor and had an air of pride about
Have you
it.
seen this yet?
Yeah. Is this comedy? Is this tragedy? Is this science fiction? Is this a nature documentary? What is this?
Oh, Christ.
Juice concoction.
You know when I see shit like that, all I think about is the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
You know, butterfly flaps and swings in the Amazon, and then like half the eastern seaboard is destroyed.
I mean,
I wonder what happens after that.
Yeah, like a whole new ecosystem starts growing out of that carpet right
Yeah,
there.
the fucking Smurfs are gonna show up.
Yeah,
in
new
their fucking living
species.
room.
John said, if you don't wear a mask, I don't care if you die.
Right.
And also, it's your mother. She's a senior citizen. What are you doing? You were at a bar last night. Why?
Well, we were talking about when he was at his other mom's house and he's drooling all over himself. It's just pouring out of his face as if someone snowballed him. And Clay asks him, where did that go? Just on the floor? John never looked down. He never even cared. And he goes, no, it's on my pants. I don't think he knew where it went. I think he didn't care. I don't think he cares. He just leaves snot and all this shit all over the place. Remember, his friends who came over mopped his floor. I've never heard of a thing where your friends come over. And
yeah, because it was like an ice rink in there. They're just slipping inside all over the place.
Snot hockey.
John,
it's a new sport.
Please get a mop or a broom or a torch. A can of gas.
Oh, God. And someone pointed this out on Uncle Rico. So much comes out of his mouth.
It's like the nose isn't even involved. It's crazy.
Like it's because there's just so much shit in his mouth at any given time. Wow.
It's like
concoction.
His nose isn't involved, but his whole upper body, there's no instinct to cover this up. There's no, either through, habit or just politeness, there's no move to cover this in any way.
When I'm by myself, that's my first go-to, because that's what you do.
It's what you do.
It's crazy.
It's like a bomb explosion. You feel it before you see it. You know what I mean? Like it's just the nose is just the place for the noise to come out, I guess, and everything else shoots out of his mouth.
You know how
Fucking
terrifying
weird.
it would have to be a cat in that house.
Yeah.
Just never knowing when that's going to come
That's
flying
why they're
at
scratching at the doors to get away from him. That's what they're doing.
You just sit there licking your paw. That
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's like a wet T-shirt cannon being fired at you at different times of the day.
That's not a real thing.
All right, so that would be a funny thing, though. All right, let's talk about John's Venmo scam from this week. I know a lot has happened since then, but I think we should cover
this
it.
is good.
This is a weekly discussion about Stuttering John. So Kevin Brennan doxes John's phone number, and John goes, I'm one step ahead of this. All the people who message him, he writes back with a link to his Venmo. And those people who a second ago wanted to fuck with John are like, yeah, I should probably give him $100 and just start flooding his Venmo with money. Now, a couple of things that were wrong with this. John was trying to post these Venmos on Twitter and didn't realize that he wasn't covering up the month correctly. So you could tell it was a Venmo from October. And he's pretending this happened after Kevin Brennan doxed his Venmo. But the other thing, and I think someone pointed this out on a show, if that's the case where someone gets your number and then they message you and you message them back your Venmo and they give you money, why wouldn't he dox himself on his show? Why isn't his phone number front and center on his show so that he can be putting this into practice all week long?
The greatest part of what I saw today was Vince says to him, he goes, John, I want to make sure that you give us our percentage of that Venmo money you got from Kevin Brennan. He goes, fuck you, you're not getting any of that. That's not for you, fuck you. It's like, come on, I need to get my percentage of that because you put it out. It was part of the show. You put it out as a thing. No. What are you going to... And then he goes, what, you want your percentage of $9? He said that today.
Oh, no. Did he let the truth slip out again?
I think he may have.
He said
He
the
always
quiet part
does.
loud? He
always
does.
does.
He can't help it. The truth always wants to come out.
Yeah.
He's just fooling all you guys. He's fooling you into thinking he's poor. And then as soon as he ropes Vince in, bam, secret millionaire.
He's not poor. He's got $9.
Oh, now
Yeah,
he is.
you can sneeze on all the furniture you want. I know your portfolio is amazing, sir. Nice try.
Rochester millionaire.
What a weird way to think that, and maybe this is true of Kevin Brennan, to think that if John got money, that would hurt Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wrap my head around this. Again, a 6-year-old would think this.
I thought about this.
Yeah.
I think John has identified Kevin's psychosis.
Yes. In some ways, they both have the same psychosis.
Yes.
Yes.
I think they both have the same problem, and they both realize the same things bother them, and they know how to pick each other apart.
Because they're both, when it comes to the super chatters, they have ownership. And it is a weird thing where it's like if a super chatter super chats someone else, it's a slight to them that they're not super chatting them, which is insanity.
Fucking Putin is less possessive of the Ukraine than they are over the legend.
Yeah, I think the legend is just doing some giant social experiment, and it's just like, it used to be green is the color that makes shit happen. Now it's red in this world. Red is the color where it turns enemies into fans, into friends. It's crazy what that red super chat will do to people.
The legend seems to be much more involved in all this than people realize. Like we had Mumbling Nick on our show, who was doxxed and family was threatened by John and his team.
Right.
And he's under the impression that the legend is very much involved in these kind of things behind the scenes. Now, is the legend actually a former Major League Baseball player?
I mean,
does anyone know?
I don't like. I've had interactions with somebody claiming to be the legend, but I don't know. I haven't seen.
You also thought you were talking to Dabbling Dan, so you got no
exactly.
credibility on that.
Exactly. I still don't believe this Adam Busch guy's real. I think this is a bit. Somebody from DabbleCon's been doing a character.
Yeah, he's doing it well. Though.
I'm mostly puppet.
I don't mind falling for it. So, what do you think about the legend?
Everybody wants to get involved in this.
Yeah,
in one way or another.
It's fun. It's easy to do. If you got a few bucks, you can get involved very easily.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that want it, and then they get it, and then they're like, "This is not what I wanted." So, I think he's having fun. He's seeing people reacting to him differently and teaming up with him and going after this one and going after that one, and he spreads his wings over everybody's show. Apparently.
You hear about, and I come at this as a musician, you hear about these guys who were playing in front of huge crowds, theaters, arenas, and then that goes away and they need something to fill that void. And they often turn to drugs or alcohol because it's just having that sensation of all of these people there for you and enjoying what you're doing. And then it goes away. This guy played Major League Baseball, and now to get his rocks off, he's giving $100 to Kevin Brennan so the Sorry John loses his mind the next day.
Well, I mean, think about it. He went from
be twisting cats.
He might be doing that too. We don't know.
It's fine.
But
whatever you want to do, man.
He went from going from a team environment where he was part of this machine to now, let's say hypothetically, if this is all what it is, this guy is like a GM of the Dabbleverse, right? He's like he's booking wrestling matches. He's booking heels. He's booking baby faces. He's creating this, like, it's a game. It's a game for this guy, I feel like. But I'm not saying that he's not weird for it. I'm just saying I think this is a rush for him to get people to fucking turn on each other, fight with each other.
And the legend could be 7 people. We don't know what's going on with that. It could all be Vince. The legend could be a bunch of Vince.
For a second there, it sounded like you were talking about Howard Stern.
It kind of is.
Yeah. He gets off on pitting people against each other intentionally. He knows what their weakness is, and he'll play them both for maximum result. All I know is and we've discussed this, if I ever wanted to get one over on John, beer is good, a hot woman is good, but nothing's better than any relationship you have to MLB. Yeah, and money is enticing, but if you claim MLB, he's really not, that's his blinders. That's his just like
when he thought Cardiff pitched an inning and a half for Pittsburgh in 1998. He was so impressed by that.
Yeah, but you're right.
Yeah.
Why did you lie to me, Cardiff?
That's his kryptonite. You just mention you have any relationship to baseball, and he doesn't even question it. He's just in. Now I can talk to you about baseball. I have a friend. Great.
But I think what we just revealed on this show. And point Dabble point, if you're not watching this live, like the 1,700 people who are here right now are doing, you're crazy. We just revealed that the legend is actually Howard Stern. Unbelievable. He is watching the show. He is involved in the show.
Well, Fudgicle just said in the chat that it might be Fred Norris, and that is believable. That I could actually wrap my mind around.
Could you imagine? That would be fucking awesome.
How does he pick Mark Lewis?
Yeah, because it's someone that's so nondescript.
That's how you do it. And he knows John. He knows you just mention, Randy Velarde. And he's like, oh my God.
It is still till this day one of my favorite doxings that John did was the legend was on his show for the first time. He signs off. He doesn't want his name out there. He doesn't want. And then somebody super chats as Mark Lewis, and he goes, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you used your name. Now I don't have to worry about it."
That was so funny. It's like, you fucking idiot.
The best.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't want attention, but he names himself the legend.
Right.
He's a humble guy. He's a
humble.
Vinny's got to take off.
That's right. I got to get
Thank
back to
you.
the club, kids.
Thank you for
having
coming
me.
over. I appreciate it. TheCreepoff.com. Vote for Karl
I wouldn't do that if I
at
were you. I'd vote for Vinnie.
TheCreepoff.com. And of course, Subreddit Surfing is over on Rumble.
That's right. We're having a great old time over there. No one is paying attention, so we're getting away with everything.
Nice.
Nice to meet you, Adam. Shuli, always great to see you. And thank you, everybody, for having me back. I hope one day I could again earn all of your trust. Bye.
You're back, baby.
Run away, pussy boy. Run away.
Run away.
It'd be funny if we could have pulled up Phil Elmore and just got them to start fighting again.
What a return that would be. What a pop that would get.
Guys, we have more topics to get to. We have a lot more super chats to get to. But while we have everyone here captivated, I want to give a quick promotion to the Shuli Network and the Uncle Rico Show, which is over on the Shuli Network on YouTube. What's your schedule like this week?
I believe we're on tonight at 7, and then we got some blunder years for tomorrow. We got a lot of fun stuff set for the holiday season. A lot of themed programming, and so just come on through, man. Subscribe. Thank you.
Hit the notifications bell because you never know when they're going to be on and doing the show. And speaking of blunder years, Adam and I were on there last week. I saw that you guys put that out for everyone to see.
Yeah, it was so good, and we just wanted people to see the blunder years where we go dig a little deeper back in the day of his early podcast, but also that episode of you and him linking up for the first time, and having you here to kind of give the behind the scenes of stuff, and Adam chiming in on it. It was such a good episode, and it was great. So hope people love it. It's getting good reviews.
It was interesting to relive that a little bit with you guys because I hadn't watched it, since we did it live, and I forget how childish John could be when confronted with things he doesn't want to hear.
You really handled it well. I hope you can look back and be like, oh, wow, I really, I held my own and I shined a light on this person. And we got to see sides of him that we never would have gotten to see if he was speaking to anyone else.
Well, thank you, Adam. I do appreciate that. And you were talking about you've produced a new album that covers all Nine Inch Nails music. Where can people find that?
On all the streaming services, on YouTube, on Spotify. It's called Peeled Back by Ali Gertz. It has Tim Ratilli from Caliphone. It has John Dinerstein and a lot of great musicians, Mark McConville from the Dust Bowl Cavaliers. And I think you guys would really enjoy it. There's also a film I made called Dave Made a Maze that we were talking about.
I love that movie. Yeah.
I actually heard recently from a beloved member of the Dabbleverse. I won't reveal their name, but they reached out to tell me they enjoyed that film and it meant a lot to me. So I'll offer that up to you guys. It's on all the streaming services. It's called Dave Made a Maze. It stars a comic named Nick Thune and James Urbaniak. I think you'd really like it.
It is a very fun movie, unique. Lucy Tightbox told me about it even before we knew that Adam was part of the Dabbleverse. So definitely worth.
Sure, she did, Karl. Sure.
I kid you not.
It's a work.
This is who can forget this? $5 has ever noticed that John never talks about his old college buddies, just friends from when he was a little kid. Yes, there are some weird missing elements of his past. College is one of them, and the ad agency is one of them, where he just has no stories. And you go, oh, that's odd.
Well, if I could play devil's advocate here, and I usually don't for John, there were a lot of whippets around those times too. So
sure.
Those slides could be out of the projector and gone for good.
When I was talking to John, I mentioned a lot of the musicians that we both knew and had worked with from back in the day, and some I'm still in contact with. Yeah. And I knew that would at least help him know I'm who I say I am. But when we spoke, he never asked about any of them. And I always thought that was really interesting because I expected he would at least want to know or ask or have something to say. Never brought it up. And even when I started to get into that territory, he steered it somewhere else, which is what he's very good at doing.
Why do you think that is?
I think because he doesn't, he knows they don't want to talk to him anymore.
Oh, okay.
And I think the relationships are broken and he doesn't want it to come up. He's very good at moving on to the next thing. He's hyper aware of any slight that might be coming. And also any compliment. And I think he steers the conversation accordingly.
There was a good example of John's deflection techniques today with Vince, where Vince was asking him about this tracking device. And
I want to talk to you about that, but go ahead.
Yeah. And then John right away is like, when's the last time you had sex? When's the last time you masturbated? Like trying to change the subject. So he immediately goes into jerking off and how much money you have and changes the subject to poor me. Why are you coming after me immediately?
Yeah, that got really dark when he started to. I mean, it devolved into you took Casey to a game.
Oh,
Why don't you
yeah.
take me to a game?
I caught a little bit of that.
Oh my God. Like
John
when
doesn't
your
think he-
5-year-old talks that way, you have to
Yep.
have a talk with them about,
Yeah.
appreciating and gratitude and others and not being jealous. Like it was it's one thing to be selfish and want for yourself only. It's another thing to genuinely deep in your heart not want others to be happy.
Yeah.
And that is scary.
John thinks he shouldn't have to pay back Vince the money he owes him because he claims it was $5,000 to go to this MMA UFC fight that he went to with Casey Armstrong. And that's how John thinks.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, if you have the money for that. And he actually wanted Vince to let go of the debt because Vince didn't bring John.
Right.
That was his rationale for it.
Right.
Vince had a great response. Vince was like, with the money you're going to save from not paying me those last 3 months, go buy yourself a UFC ticket.
Yeah, right.
And John
You
was
have
like,
enough
you
money to
don't
do
get it,
that."
Vince. It's not about, I don't want to go to the game. I just don't want you to go.
Right. Brother Ted, serious question. Who's feeding the cats? Did SJ forget? Hopefully he has a friend down there who's watching the cats. I would imagine. This is Doo-Doo Baby, $2. Stuttering John left the Madden oversized head cheat code on.
He's got little person head now every show. It's great.
K-Mac 33, $5. Do you think he changes his number when he wakes up hungover after he realizes he sent someone's nudes or pics of other kids? I think that John drinks himself into a stupor and just passes out.
Yeah.
I don't think he's up to like a lot of shenanigans at that point. Because we see it live when he's been on live, he just kind of gets slow and just goes, all right, well, I gotta go. It's not like he's full of energy and like messaging people and shit.
Yes, but we do enjoy that there's a bit of confusion there. He does have a bit of he does just pass out, but he doesn't know what he did before that happened. So he is discovering how his house is, how he's finding it for the first time. And we get to discover that with him. And he gets to say great things like, yeah, the heat was on all night. I don't know why I did that.
I guess I was cold.
Guess
I
so.
watched Goodfellas last night. I'm not sure why I did that.
Yeah.
These bird marks. I don't know.
He just found it running or on or in the DVD player.
I'm going to have some Indian food that I left on the table overnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's
One of
another
the
good one.
craziest things was when he was taking a shit and he reaches for the toilet paper and he knocked out the PVC drain pipe of his sink with his arm reaching for toilet paper. I mean, this is a new house that he's in. You would need a tool to get
What
this
is he, the
PVC
Hulk?
Yeah, right. It doesn't make any sense. But so that's stupid. It's a lie. I don't know what the fuck actually happened. But then the next story is, and then he washed his hands in that sink.
Well, there's a theory that he was so drunk that he somehow fell and kind of broke it falling into it, trying to
probably
brace
grabbed it
himself.
and ripped it
Right.
up, like lost his balance.
Right.
I personally
That would make
believe
sense.
it's what we were talking about. We see the best of him on camera, and what goes on when he's off camera is, like you're saying, the Hulk. It's like a super villain. Everything he does is way too much energy. The same day he grabbed the toilet paper and ripped out the piping, he tried to turn off the water for his sprinkler and ripped the entire valve off out of the ground. Everything he does is what? It's just too much energy. The best definition of the word graceful I ever heard was only using as much energy as a task requires. It's like, wow, yeah, that's broadcasting everything. That's graceful. This guy is whatever the opposite of graceful is. It's just everything is attacked with full force and then shocked at the result.
Yep.
John's going to see that clip and be like, I am like the Incredible Hulk. I'm muscular. I'll fuck you up. He's right. Joseph Collins, $5. John works for an ad agency. The only thing he's asked is, where's the coffee? I mean, he's not working at an ad agency, obviously. He doesn't even know how they operate or what's going on. But if he did have a job at a place like that, he's a custodian. He's passing out the mail. I mean, they're giving him a very menial task. I was gonna say the greeter, but you wouldn't have a person like
No.
that behind the front desk.
First thing you walk in, you get spit on from a guy saying good morning to you.
Right?
You don't
Yeah,
want
that's
that.
not great. Night Queeps, $20. Did my name ever happen in John's face? Very good question. We'll never get the answer to
great.
that. He refuses to answer that question. That's a funny name. So what? $5. Thanksgiving RSVP. John +1. Roach infestation. Yes. Rumble Trunch Coat. A Columbo podcast. $5. Stuttering John not saying I love you back to his son made me actually gasp out loud. I remember that every time I start to feel sorry for him. It's wild that he told that story, but it really shows you how he thinks and how he interacts with his relationships.
And what he's comfortable sharing. Like, don't forget, nobody found a document with this story in it.
No.
Nobody doxed this story out of him. This is one he shared willingly with us.
And also the lies by omission in that story where he says, oh, there was some cat hair on the bed.
Right.
And so my son didn't want to sleep on it. It's like, oh, I bet it was way worse than some cat hair on a bed, would be my guess, because you could vacuum, change the sheets, brush it off. There's solutions to cat hair on a bed.
The
was
maintenance
their
man
cat.
was being paid. The
Yeah.
maintenance man was being paid to fix something in the kitchen and was like, I'm not going in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was, it haunts me the way he was laughing. You know, he does that uncomfortable laugh when he's like, and my son, yeah, it's like, why are you telling this? And why are you laughing? It's some sick cry for help. It really is. It's confession. It's just
Interesting.
like, someone take this off of me.
Yeah. You remember the while back, Ojeda was in his car with him, and Ojeda talked about how much trash was on the floor of his car, and John is just sitting there laughing hysterically.
Yep.
He's loving every second of being in the spotlight as a filthy pig, just a lazy pig.
There's this thing they call duper's delight. It's like they use it when they describe murderers who are like
Right.
lying, and that Ojeda car ride reminded me of that, because
Yeah.
he had an opportunity to do something about it, and he
Right.
had an opportunity to explain it away as a one-off. But no, he somehow enjoyed getting that over on Richard and telling us about it. It's somehow like he got away with it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's like, remember when Hal came to his apartment and Hal
Yes.
did the whole, and he's dying laughing about that. Now, Hal's coming to help you with your equipment. Wouldn't you throw a sheet on your mattress or pick up some cat shit? Same with the maintenance man.
Yep.
there's like a pride in it, isn't there? Like he
Yeah.
enjoys this. He thinks it's like I don't know.
Quirky, or it makes him different or something. I don't know.
I think it goes back to that's how he got airtime back in
You're
the
right.
day.
You're
Right.
You're
So
You're right.
that's just a vehicle for, but it's not Howard and Robin and Gary dissecting and making it funny. It's Richard Ojeda going, there's fucking McDonald's ankle deep in this fucking car.
You can also go back to my theory that John's 6 years old.
Yeah,
And
that's
so he's getting away with it. He's like, yeah,
Right.
my mom doesn't
Mhm.
make me clean my room. I don't have to do that. I don't have to clean my car. It's like,
Yeah. You're both
Yeah.
right. And
Should.
Shuli, it's like when it's Ozzy Osbourne and the height of Black Sabbath, that stuff is awesome.
You're right.
But
Yes.
when you're a parent and you're older, now it's
Yeah.
the subject of a reality show where we laugh at you for
Right.
not having grown up. Now it's the Osbournes, and it's not
Mhm.
metal anymore. It is, we're mocking you.
Yeah.
Gary Rexwork, $2. How long until Dummy swallows his tongue? Well, God forbid. We want Dummy to last a long time. Eddie Coyle, $5. Another example of the real life monster, John,
Mhm.
was the recording when someone parked behind at the pub. Remember his excuse for that?
What was it again?
The Giants lost.
Oh, that's right. He caught him at a bad time.
He had just watched the Giants lose the game.
Yeah.
And so he was in a very bad mood. But yeah, that's John. And notice people's reaction. I haven't watched that video in a long time, but people's reaction, people aren't shocked that John's
No.
running around screaming and throwing a temper tantrum.
And he
Yeah.
was doing Dice. He was doing Dice's
Right.
voice for some reason. He couldn't even be really angry and own it. He had to play this character.
That's another thing that we've pointed out recently is that John's always somebody else. He's always taking on a different persona, whatever movie he just watched, or he's constantly not John. He doesn't. I don't think John knows who John is.
I watched KB and Bob, and it made me realize, oh my God, that half that shit that John does that I don't understand why he would ever say that and respond like that. Good one. You got me. It's like, oh, he's copying that guy. All of
Yes.
those responses to every super chat is just what Kevin says, but he thinks if I do it bigger, larger, and with a
Yep.
more grotesque face, I'm improving upon this comedy. It's not
John-
comedy when Kevin does it, and it's definitely not comedy when you do it. I don't know what
John
it is.
does the wow now too, like
That
Kevin
thing.
does.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got me. Yeah, it's like
Gino Bobina says, I just got here, so may have already been answered. But Shuli, why did Bob make less when you had a bad month if you guys had a set amount he got paid?
Oh, you did miss it, man. We talked about it earlier. Just hit rewind. You'll get the answer. Thanks, Gino.
You don't want to address that?
No, I mean, everybody got less. It was a down month. For over 2 years, nobody made less. It was our first down month. So wasn't just Bob.
Naturally negative. What is up, my skibidi rizzlers?
Skibbity Rizzlers.
What do you call a toilet with loud plumbing? A stuttering John. That's
Boom.
pretty good. I like it. My boy Michael P. I'm beginning to think John is not talented. Have a great holiday to all. Shalom. Just do it. Excelsior. R.I.P. Terra. And go Bills. All of those things I agree with. Gray Lobster with 5 pounds. Karl, you have a mom wife. She buys you specialist sweeties with your money. Gay. Specialist sweeties?
There's nothing more male than, alpha male than your old lady bringing you treats.
Is
While
he
you're
referring
working.
to what Tukey was saying when Jen was buying candy and toys
Oh.
when we were in Largo? She still has those toys too. I'm like, we're throwing these out. She's like, no, I like these toys. Fucking ridiculous. Duke of Darth Tater, remember for 12 months, says Black Ops 6 and Point Double Point makes for an awesome day off, and Vinny sucks. Oh, let me get Vinny back over here. Hold on.
Wow.
I'll shoot him a text. That does sound like a good day. Good for you.
Yeah.
Gina Bobina, $5. Why is it okay to rip John for not wanting to pay Vince the lawyer, but not Shuli for not paying Bob's monthly pay? So they are both broke. Can't see the difference. I mean,
Vince, can you just text me this question a little easier to read? Because this isn't making sense. I don't understand.
That's not Vince. I only know that because he didn't put $2.
It wasn't
as the super
$2.
chat.
Yeah, you're right.
He didn't
You're right.
reference John as JEM.
And you said that as a joke, Shuli, but you point out the fundamental difference between John and Kevin. And it's just one tragic flaw because they're so similar in so many ways and they're so personally offended by all the same things, except there's one thing. When John got his boat and KB was making fun of him and John was so offended, he said, why didn't you call me?
Right.
If you were so offended by this, why wouldn't you pick up the phone and call me to talk about it? John, nobody cares. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to talk to you about it on the phone. It's a podcast. Why can't you see the difference? At the very least, to some things, KB can see the difference. John is like, this guy's so hurt by me, and he can't pick up the phone and call me. No one gives a shit, John.
It's fodder, you idiot.
Yeah,
Right.
my God.
Diablo Sandwich $2 says Adam's family also has slobbering idiot accents.
Oh no, it's much less wet. It's not.
Okay.
It's not so damp. It's just indicative of the region.
Good thing I don't have an accent. Dang Lizard with €5 says, Stuttering John originally explained integrity verification, and we asked how he keeps track. Stuttering John's I've supervised visitation was repeated a lot to call out lies. Yes, remember that?
Yeah.
The supervised visitation of his children, where he's like, oh yeah, I just told him that to figure out, who's going to tell my secrets. But it was multiple people, which is, again, not how you do integrity verification.
No.
Compound David, formerly Bob's Fake Cool. Next week, Clay Puppet on PDP. Oh, I was going to ask you about that. I'd love to get Clay Puppet on. He's great.
Sure. Yeah.
very funny.
Clay Duty, the one
Clay
and only.
Duty, yes.
Yeah.
Billy Detroit, $5. He said his mom fought 10 Nazis when she was 7 yesterday. Deflection about the 12,000 Danes that joined the SS. I didn't catch that.
Wow, I missed that part
Yeah, I
of the
missed
show.
that one. Good for her, though. That's great. Bully, Shuli, Karl says Vince the Warrior equals spectrum disorder. Thoughts?
Vince the Warrior equals spectrum disorder. Is spectrum disorder, does that make people pretend they're breaking into somebody's house? I don't know. If it does, then
Yeah, it
yes,
does.
he's got spectrum disorder.
Duke, John's discussing Olympic goiter, formerly Eugene. Do you think on some level STDJ realizes what an untalented loser he is, or does he 100% believe he's a creative genius? Also, I have guests coming for Thanksgiving and would love to know STDJ's trick to get them to clean. Well, I can tell you the answer to that, but you're not going to want to do it.
No.
Just make it so uncomfortable for them that they feel a need to clean the place. But, okay, does he realize he's an untalented loser? The thing about narcissism is, because I've researched this and looked into it, they're so insecure. They know that they amount to nothing and that they're not as good. And because of that, their entire personality has to warp reality to make them act like they're actually above and better. So it's hard to tell you like what he actually knows because he's lying to himself. Does that make sense?
He knows it ain't good, right? So
Yeah.
he's going to work. He's putting the hard hat on and he's creating, it's like Inception, right? He's creating this world where anything's possible.
He
Adam?
said something today that was very revealing. Vince was asking him about his time as a mailman, and he revealed that he quit because he saw a name on his route of the cool guy at the pub. And he described this guy. He said, everybody respects and love this guy because he's a real wise ass. And he said something like, and he's a real good wise ass. So they all respect him. And John was so afraid of what this guy at the pub thought that he quit being a mailman. And then he admitted it on his live stream. John, I don't know what that guy does for a living, but you said you're a professional roaster. You're
Right.
a comedy writer and a comedic legend, and you're intimidated by the good wise ass at the pub. Something tells me, I think you're right, Karl. Maybe you don't think as highly of your wedding roaster skills as you claim they are, which is why you will not put yourself in any position where those skills can be tested in real time ever.
Yes.
I just think his biggest and ultimate fear is being spotted working a normal person's job as Stuttering John.
Oh, yeah.
That, I think, is the most terrifying thing to him that keeps him up at night.
Yeah,
is-
the only time he didn't want to be recognized for being a celebrity is when he was driving for Uber.
Right.
Every other time he wants to be recognized for being a celebrity.
And he's probably bullshitting the wise ass at the bar day and night about what he has going on, and now he's got to walk up in his mailman shorts and fucking deliver him his shit.
Yeah, the jig is up at that point.
Exactly.
For sure. Mike Shitty Internet Provider, $2 says, Stuttering John admitted today he couldn't even be a good mailman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this book by Charles Bukowski called Post Office. It made his career. It was him being a 40-something-year-old alcoholic joining the post office, and he describes his life, and it made him a legendary writer for the rest of his life. He was signed to Black Sparrow Press, and it's a honest, not poetic, beautifully written book about what you would imagine John would be thinking, but if he actually just tried. If he hated it, but he tried to be a postman and an alcoholic, he could turn, and Billy Crystal turned substitute teaching into his first act. And later in life, you can turn all of this stuff into something. He doesn't have to, look at these jobs like that. All of this is art if you apply yourself.
It goes back to when we were reading the account of what's really going on with John since going on Leno's show and his downfall. If he would be honest about that, that's a compelling story. That's interesting. And John can never embrace that. And he spent so many years denying it that now I think it'd be tough for him to transition. But he should have. He should have embraced that because, wow, what an interesting story this is. A guy who is vulnerable, who can admit his faults, who did have everything given to him and lost it all. That's an interesting story. That's why the Dabbleverse exists. We're all interested in that story. And the fact that he denies it all keeps it going. Don't get me wrong. But it'd be a whole different audience that's sympathetic towards him if
Yeah, you know
he was
that's
that
true
guy.
because the exact opposite of it is true. And that's how you know
Yes.
if something's true. If its opposite is true. Just today, he said alcohol has not affected my business life, hasn't affected my personal life, and it hasn't affected me as a parent. So I am a functional alcoholic. He said that, which is the exact flip of what you just said. And it's equally as riveting and entertaining,
It is.
but just shocking and disappointing.
Yeah, being real is one thing, but it's a lot easier for him to just,
Fuck you.
that's a lot easier for him.
Yeah.
Looney Tunes critic, do you have a Chip impression? I know you do over there, Shuli.
Oh, yeah, I have a little Chip action here. Give me a second.
Oh, I meant, can you read this as Chip?
Oh, no, I can't do a Chip.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, you do it.
He's at an ad agency. For him, it should be a subtract agency. Sock caca.
Home run, Comey, a home run. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Amy Lynn, member for 6 months, says, I can't stand when Stuttering John trashes Jenny. She's beautiful, like a pinup model. Stuttering John wishes he could get someone remotely like her. Thanks for the laughs, gents. Thank you very much, Amy Lynn. I appreciate that. And so does my lovely wife. Vodka
I mean,
straight up.
it's John's rules of engagement. Carl goofed on him, so now naturally he has to go after your wife. Duh.
He was calling her fat for a while. He doesn't even know what he's just spraying bullets all over the place. Like no regard for losing the ammo.
You woke up the sleeping giant, Carl. Now you have to deal with it.
Right.
Vodka
straight up. Thank you. John showed the loogie still on side table today. What?
His sneeze, the snot?
Wow.
No way.
That's
There's no way he did.
sad. It's his mom's house. Dabble Sandwich $2. Broadcasting John is Dr. Jekyll. Can you imagine Mr. Hyde? Yes. That's what Adam is saying. I think you're right about that. Spectrum Customer Care. Join me and Stern tonight. Uncle Rico Live at 7 p.m. on TSN.
Oh, yeah. I think this is Robin's sock account.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Nice. Alan Cruz, $5. When John came back in 2023, he would always shout Brennan's hack line over and over again. Yes. He picks up on these things. He just copies people.
Well, it's the people he wants approval and friendships with. You're on that list.
Yep.
Brennan's on that list.
That's why he does my me.
Yeah.
On every episode.
Everything filters down to him not existing. Everything he wants are other people's things.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason he can give for his points of view is that other people also feel that way or have gotten it. And it doesn't matter if it's his neighbor or the MLB. It's all one thing. All of his comedy, all of his deliveries are things he's heard other people do. There's no core there. He doesn't know how to think or what to feel. I just wish he would click his heels and realize that in this moment, all of his dreams have come true and he can embrace it and live off it instead of trying to assassinate everyone that's trying to help him.
You're right. He's living in his own internal mental prison. He talked about that with Quadfather, where John is really the one who's torturing himself every single day with focusing on what other people have and their popular, all the things that he wants, the popularity or the viewers or the money or the stuff.
It does happen.
Live life.
It's insecurity, like you're saying, and it's a way for him to not appreciate or enjoy anything that's happening. Like Bob Marley was obsessed that his audience didn't look the way he wanted them to. He wanted to appeal to a certain kind of people, not all these young white kids that loved him, and it tortured him. And it's not fair. He should have been able to enjoy it. And John is very similar. It's like his reaction to me and his reaction to most people is very clear. It's, oh, well, if you like me, you must be a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he treats you accordingly. If you like other things, he might like you, but he takes that as a warning if you are nice to him.
Yeah, the focusing on what everybody else is doing is also because of the fact that person can't believe they're actually making money doing this right now. Like that what they're doing, even deep down inside, they know, I can't believe this shit is fucking working. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. When you know you can be found out and it could end one day like that, then you're constantly worried about what everybody else is doing, what you're doing, blah, blah, blah,
You know
think
what
that
helps with that? It really does help with that. And I've seen it in many people's careers. And it's having a talent.
Good point.
When you can fall back on it, and you can
Yeah.
always start again and make your clay pieces or paint your paintings or do your stand-up.
Go
You
figure,
can always do that. Louis C.K. knows that.
Mhm. Let me write
Big
that
Daddy
down. Talent.
Dodo, yeah, write that one down, Shuli. Get a talent.
Okay.
Big Daddy Dodo $2 says, "What's up, fellas? That's quite a Busch you got there." As the great Booger from Revenge of the Nerds once said, "We've got Busch. We've got Busch."
What the fuck is a frush?
Gina Bobina, Shuli
Oh, this
has,
is Vince.
Shuli has Issa reached out before his sentencing.
No, and I do not believe he will be.
The Looney Tunes critic at Who Are These Podcasts, the doobie abides.
The duty, Clay Duty's in.
Oh, the duty. Oh, yes. Thank you, the Looney Tunes critic. Love that character. It's fantastic. Gina Bobina, Scott Richard Bob, the list of money issues, Shuli.
Oh, it's brutal. It's Shuli's list. Spielberg's making it.
Mumbling Bernie Bro. Vin, my ma says you can sleep over if you pick me up.
How about that?
That was
And
wild.
I love if we could talk about Vince. And I got a jam here in a few minutes, but I just want to bring up Vince pushing the envelope with John. Really, really trolling him right to his face more than ever now.
Mhm.
I'll send you an Uber, immediately texting out all the details,
Yep.
knowing it's going to get back to John, and really knowing John's in a position now where he can't do anything about it.
Well,
He
then,
just has to take it.
so John wakes up the next morning and goes, "Did you message people our text conversation?" And Vince is trolling him, just like, "Wow, you wake up in a bad mood." And John's
Yeah.
like, repeats it. "Did you send people the text information?" And he goes, "I don't know. Let me check."
Well, how do
And
you
then
know
he sends
that?
us that conversation. That's why John's just getting trolled. And the best thing that happened this week was when John sits down, he's all confused, and he goes, "I can't figure it out. Is this guy a friend or a foe? Because sometimes he's great to me, and other times he's kind of a dick. And I can't parse this in my head. What's this Vince the Warrior character?" Because anytime Vince the Warrior does things that involve him spending money on John, he's a great guy.
Listen, if I had someone sue me for $12.5 million
Yeah.
and then send me a Pizza Hut pizza, I wouldn't be confused if he was a friend or foe.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
And it really was the moment of the week because he delivered it in that way that like really racist people do when they just assume everyone on the elevator feels the same way and everyone's like, whoa, we are not on the same page about that person that just got off on their floor. John says it in this way like he's pondering the universe. Like we're all like, yeah, there's ocean aliens. Did you hear about this? And we're like, yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about that too. Like, is Vince good or bad? How can anyone ever tell? He really thought we were all in on that. John, do you ever hear the saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch?
Yeah.
Do you understand that? For
He doesn't.
every free lunch you get, there is a price to pay with Vince. And that's his role in the universe. It will never change. It is consistent. Just accept it. There's for every free thing you get, you will pay a price. I think you know that. And I think you've already weighed out that you're so broke that it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Gentlemen, I got a boogie. Carl, Adam, always a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you. And we'll be on tonight at 7.
Yeah,
Thank
Uncle
you, boys.
Rico show starting in 1 hour. So get over there and check that out. Thanks, Shuli. Thanks for being here, buddy.
See you guys. Thank you.
See ya. Appreciate it. Just in time. Gina Bobina says, "Shuli, why the bad month? Because you work with the pedo." Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm sure that's why. Gino again. "Shuli, why did you push Bob out the door?" I think Bob quit. Jackie Daytona, regular human bartender. "Enjoying the show. You're all the most devious bastards in the Dabbleverse. Bat." That is a great character. Texas Born Wrong, $5. If you guys didn't watch when John made his call to Disney World today, you missed a gem. That was Universal Studios. I did catch some of it, but I'll have to go back.
The idea that he was, and Vince knows obviously that he was calling Universal Studios theme park to talk about Tonight Show archives and thinking, John's like, I'm on it. Let's do it. And he's like, I'm a really good lawyer. Look at him go. They ended up with nothing. And it was just humiliating.
Oh, it's great. It's funny. Sometimes Vince does add positive things to the show. I will admit that. Silence Do Good, $5 says, haha, look at us all competing with one another, trying to impress Adam so he will sleep with us. What a bunch of silly guys we are. Adam, have you made your decision yet?
Oh, I mean, I'm holding this rose, but I'm
Yeah,
holding
right.
it close
So
to my heart. I'm not
okay.
ready to.
I guess you got to tune into the next episode to find out the answer to that.
Mhm.
Well, wow, we didn't get to everything that was on my list, but we got to a lot of it. And Adam, always great to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. This has been the best. I really hope at some point soon we can get a Dabble point on here. I think it's missing. This is like a, week in review
Yes.
show where we need another point of view
We
from
do.
someone. I would love to find out where I'm wrong or what I'm missing. And I'm certainly open to hearing any other point of view. And I think this show will never really thrive until that Dabble point is here and we get to be confronted with it. So I
Yes,
look forward to
so
that happening one day.
Brian Karam is up next week.
That'd be
on
the
Point
best.
Dabble Point.
Oh,
Yes.
that'd be the best.
Honestly, open invitation to any of these guys who want to come on and tell us where we're getting this wrong. Rob Saul, if you could just not be blackout drunk, that'd be great. We'd appreciate that. Maybe be coherent enough to get out a thought and not just make mouth noises. That'd be great. But yes, open invitation for all those people. I agree with you, Adam. This is supposed to be a roundtable discussion after all.
It's missing.
It is. It is missing. But you know what's not missing is all you fine folks watching the show. Thank you so much. WhoAreThese.com. And of course, you can listen to Who Are These podcasts for free wherever you listen to podcasts. It comes out every Thursday and Sunday. And we appreciate all of you. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Point Dabble Point. A stuttering John Melendez.